Welcome to another video from explainingcomputers.com. Today for me is August the 5th, 2026, and I'm about to spend 7 days doing all of my computing on RISC-V hardware. In case you're not aware, RISC-V is a free and open instruction set architecture, or ISA, that provides an alternative to x86 and ARM. Right now, RISC-V is widely adopted in embedded computing and in microcontrollers, but it's still very much developmental for end-user computing. And so this test is an opportunity to see how advanced desktop RISC-V currently is. This test is also a repeat of an experiment I first tried in September 2023. And at that point in time it wasn't possible to do video production on a RISC-V system. But things have moved on, and this video is being edited on a RISC-V computer. Across the next week I'm going to be working on these RISC-V computers. And the main one is actually the smaller one. It is this, which is a Milk-V Jupiter 2 that I recently reviewed on the channel. And this has got an RVA23 compliant SpaceMIC K3 system on a chip with 8 SpaceBit X100 2.4 GHz CPU cores together with another 8 A100 NPU cores and an Imagination IMG BXM464 MC1 GPU. This Pico ITX system is also equipped with 8 GB of 6400 low-power DDR5 RAM and 128 GB of UFS 2.2 as its system drive. And in my previous review I tested the speed of its onboard flash storage to be about 480 megabytes a second. I've also fitted a 500 GB NVMe SSD in a 4-lane PCIe 3.0 M.2 slot, and this I previously tested to have a read speed of about 2200 megabytes a second. Now, whilst this Milk-V Jupiter 2 is going to be my primary computer across the next 7 days, I'm also going to be running this Mini ITX system, which, if we take a look inside, I've already released the top cover, we can see that in here we've got the original Milk-V Jupiter 1. And please note it is a total coincidence that both of the computers I'm using in this experiment are from Milk-V. They are not sponsoring the video. And rather the reason I'm using these two particular computers is, of the 11 RISC-V development systems I currently own, these are the two most powerful. To give you the specs of the Milk-V Jupiter 1, it's a Mini ITX board with a SpaceMIT M1 system on a chip. And the M1 is a more rapidly clocked version of the K1 processor that preceded the K3 used in the Milk-V Jupiter 2. There was never a K2. Specifically, the M1, which is under this improvised heatsink, has got 8 SpaceMIT x60 CPU cores clocked at up to 1.8 GHz and an IMG BXE232 GPU. The system also has 16 GB of RAM, and it's also fitted with a 500 GB NVMe SSD. And my recent test showed that this system is about a third of the speed of the Milk-V Jupiter 2. This said, it'll be useful to have an additional RISC-V computer available this week, and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to be using this for a bit later in the video. Finally, just in case you're wondering, my phone is one of these, an AGM Mobile M8. It is a flip phone, as I've not had a smartphone since 2016. And so I won't be using a phone for things like email and web browsing during this experiment. Talking of which, it's now time for me to get these connected up so I can check what's going on in the online world. Greetings! I've now got the Jupiter 2 all set up and running, although around the back the wiring is a bit of a mess, as its power input, video output and only USB 3 port all share the same USB-C connector, and so a hub has to be used, which in my view is crazy. Anyway, it's now the evening of the second day of this experiment, and here on the Jupiter 2 we're running the Bamboo 4 Linux distro, which is based on Ubuntu 26.04 with RISC-V optimizations. Specifically, if we look down here in settings, we're running Bamboo 4.04, to which I upgraded before commencing this RISC-V week. Both yesterday and today I've had no problems accessing my email. The browser is easily responsive enough for me to handle all the messages, all the spam I get, and look, exciting things as well. We've got new products from the Pi Hut. Don't know what that is, looks very exciting, doesn't it? But there we are, lots of things here in my email. But inevitably there is a limit to what I can show you in the email, so let's move on to something else. And you might be able to hear the fan on the Milk 5 Jupiter 2 is getting rather loud. I think later on in the week I'm going to move the computer further away from where the microphone is, but for now we'll leave it where it is and you can hear when the fan starts to go a bit wild. Anyway, the main thing I've been doing today has been getting into video editing on this system, so let's run up Kdenlive, which is working pretty well. I'll show you all of this in real time so you can see how responsive this RISC-V system actually is. There we are, let's bring in an edit like that. And this is the edit of what you were seeing in my last part of the video. It's one of these meta videos where you see the video inside the video. And this works no problems at all. The footage here is ProRes 422, but I'm editing using proxy clips, as I usually do if I'm working on a lower power computer. But it works absolutely fine. There's no problems playing this footage. It all works fine. There's not a lot going on there, is there? Let's find something going on. It's must be something going on somewhere. Oh look, I took the top off there. That's an exciting bit of action. And we can see some exciting action happening, and okay, it's not that exciting action, isn't it? And we've also got here a transition which plays perfectly usably. There's no problems editing on this system. This said, I've not yet tried rendering anything out. What I'm going to do this week is to edit each day of the video, each section as a separate edit, and then put them all together in a master edit, just again to keep things under control on less powerful hardware. But I'm sure you and I want to know how quickly this system can render out a piece of video. So we've got here about 3.5 minutes of footage. So let's go to render, and I've set up a script for this edit. So let's start the script, which will render things out. And as the fan goes wild, we'll use the magic of filmmaking to speed on through. And there we are, it's finished. It rendered out 3.5 minutes of footage in 5 minutes 22 seconds, which is not bad. It's slower than I would normally see on the systems I use to edit this channel, but that's pretty reasonable. So let's just check it does all work. Let's just quit from this and go to EC, and it's under Stanley, isn't it? And I think I've sent it somewhere over here to Final 1080p. There is what we've just rendered out, and hopefully, if we play the thing, of course there's not a lot. We've got the same issue as before, haven't we? Because it's not. Yes, there we are. Something's happening. There we are. We can see we've got some final footage. So there we are. I'm now very confident I'm going to be able to edit this video on this RISC-V computer. Greetings! It's now nearly 9 PM on Friday, the 7th of August, and I've had one of those frustrating computing days when you invest a lot of time and don't get quite as much out as you anticipate. I had a very good idea I wanted to be by the end of today, what I wanted to show you in this segment. I can't do that because I haven't got there yet. I have started off the final edit. There's the explaining computers titles. And then we go straight to the Wednesday section and the Thursday section. But that's all I've got here so far. I haven't got the opening part of me talking to camera. I haven't got intertitles and titles, things like that. But anyway, let me show you where things are. I've been messing around with audio, and audio has been a little bit tricky. I was going to do all my audio editing in Audacity, and here is Audacity. But if I play it, you will see there's a little bit of jumping around on audio, which is to put it mildly, rather frustrating, but it's, I was about to say it stabilises. It does stabilise, and sometimes it loses the whole display completely. You have to bring it back like that. So that's not ideal. So I have been using Audacity a bit, but I've also been experimenting with, shall we save this Definitely not. I have been experimenting, as I said, with online audio editors. And this one is Audio Mass. This is quite good actually. I'm quite impressed with Audio Mass and it works quite nicely on this system. If you're wondering about the two tracks, this is the track from yesterday. That's me talking at the top. And at the bottom, that's the audio from the computer, which is the scrubbing of a timeline. This needs splitting into two files for the final edit. And although I can't actually do that in this package, I have to use Audacity for certain things. This is quite a nice package. It's got a reasonable range of effects. It's got compressor normalization, not fantastic noise reduction, but I can sort of get by using this and Audacity. And just to show you, I did also try out Wavacity, which doesn't work. It's an online version of Audacity. I thought this might be very handy, but clearly there's something stopping that working on this system. Anyway, let's move on from audio to still graphics, where I've got Photo P working, the online Photoshop alternative, where again we can see there is occasional flickering, which is not ideal, but again it's usable. This is the redaction element for when I showed you my email in the last part of the video. And over here, I've got my standard captions file, which I normally use in Adobe Photoshop. Just flick around like that, you can see the principle of how it works. Let's go down to a single line caption. Again, I don't like the flickering. I do have GIMP on this system, which works fine, but text handling in GIMP is so poor, I'd rather use Photop with a bit of flickering. The other thing I have got working here, let's leave that, is Picky Move. And if I just do this, there is an intertitle. And Picky Move is an online version of Adobe After Effects that I've covered in a previous video. And indeed, what I've done is to bring in a file from the previous video with all my intertitles in it from that video, and I'm changing them over to be intertitles for this video. This said, it isn't working absolutely perfectly because if I go to export video and we export as an MP4 video, I'll show you that in a second, it doesn't work. But you can export as an image sequence, which then has to be put together in a video editor. I'll just show you what happens if we try and export MP4. It'll start off fine, does the audio track, and then it sits there on 3% until the end of time. Okay, I've not watched it until the end of time. I've watched it for quite a long time, and that's never going to work. The other thing I have tried to do in Picky Move is my opening green screen composite, so let's just load that in. There we go, that took a little setting up, but if I play from here, you'll see it's got the standard explaining computers opening caption going on like that. Hasn't got me there yet, and I haven't here loaded in any of the video files, the green screen chroma key files. This is again a file from a previous explaining computers video, and I found it just simply doesn't work. If I here go to load in a video file, it won't come in. And so sadly this week I can't use Picky Move to do my opening green screen composite and motion graphics, although I can use it for intertitles. And so what I'm going to have to do is to go back to Kdenlive. We will leave that a failed page. Let's go back to Kdenlive, where I have been playing around with the green screen composite, which is not disastrous. Chroma key in Kdenlive is slightly better than it used to be, but it's still not perfect. There's still very little control. And so, as you probably gathered, this has been, as I said at the start of this segment, a frustrating day in my RISC-V week experiment. Right, it's now Saturday the 8th of August, about 3 p.m, and here we are working on the Milk-V Jupiter 1, which I've got connected to my television. This is not a properly lit shot, but you can see where the computer is. And I wasn't going to show you this setup until the Monday segment of this video, in which I'll talk about using RISC-V for things like video streaming. But we're taking a look at it now because guess what? I've got Audacity installed on this system and it works perfectly well. Welcome to another video from explainingcomputers.com. There we are, that was the video introduction, but far more importantly, as you can see if I move around, there is no flicking on this at all. We can full screen it, do what we want with it, and everything works absolutely fine. So I'm using this to do my audio work. It's slower using it on this system, but there's no flicker, which makes it much more pleasant to use. And guess what? I've also found I can run Photo P on this system again without any screen flicker whatsoever, and I've started doing some actual captions for the video, which I can just export using export as and PNG. This system is a little sluggish, but it certainly works. We can now click on save. And I think I'll call this caption RISC-V production, like that, and we will save that file. And so I've now got a perfectly sound method of producing captions and also the video thumbnail and also doing my audio cleanup. So if we return to the Milk-V Jupiter 2, we discover that about 7 hours have passed, but they have been productive hours because here in Kdenlive I've been working on the final edit, which is progressing rather nicely. And after the main title we now have an episode title. We didn't have that previously, and that transitions to me in the opening shot where I've done the composite here in Kdenlive. It's not ideal, but I'm going to be using it. And if I move on to there and we play that bit, oh look, there is the caption we were looking at earlier. And so, as you can see, things are going quite well here in terms of video editing. This said, the thing I actually wanted to show you today, my plan for the Saturday segment, which I haven't got round to yet, is that last time I did this experiment, there were two things I couldn't do on a RISC-V system. One was video editing, which clearly is now possible, whilst the other was using these hardware security keys like YubiKeys and Google Titan keys. And for me, this was quite constraining because it meant I couldn't access certain accounts during my last RISC-V week, or I had to change their security settings before I started the experiment, which was clearly not ideal. And so I'm very pleased to report that these do now work on the RISC-V systems I'm using this week. And to prove it, let's go to the YubiCo demonstration site. I've got a YubiKey plugged in, so let's go to their verification test and click on next. And I now need to run across the room to where the computer now is and touch the key, where, as we can see, the device has been verified. And if I click on authenticate, the second part of the test, and again click on next, I'll again run around and touch the key. And there we are, authentication was successful. And I know that for most people this is completely irrelevant, but if you do use hardware security keys, it is great they're now supported in a RISC-V operating system. Greetings! It's now Sunday, August the 9th, close to 2 p.m. And as you may have noticed, I've been cultivating a respiratory infection during this RISC-V video diary. And so I've decided to have an easy day to try and get my temperature down. But I do want to check on the latest Explaining Computers video, and here it is, all waiting to release. And indeed, the video after it is also waiting to release, for me still in the future, but for you now in the past. And I want to note, I've had no problems whatsoever doing YouTube admin here in YouTube Studio on the Milk-V Jupiter 2, with absolutely no flicker or other functionality issues like we saw in some cloud apps a few days ago. And indeed, the Jupiter 2 streams 1080p and 4K video just fine, as we saw in my previous review. So, let's use the magic of filmmaking to speed forward a few minutes in time. And there we are, we've reached 2 p.m. Does the YouTube clock agree? Let's do a refresh. And hopefully, has the video gone live? Yes, Linux packaging formats is now public. So let's take a look in community, see what's going on. We'll look at the newest comments. There we go. And oh look, someone is last. They'd definitely get a heart for that, I think. And I'm now going to respond to a few more comments and stop speaking before the half quarry of salt I've gargled stops working. Greetings! Here I am back again on the Milk-V Jupiter 1 connected to my television. It's now Monday evening and hopefully my voice sounds a bit better. On this system, as you can see, we're running Bamboo 2.3.5, which is the latest version of this operating system available for this board, and Bamboo 2.3.5 is based on Ubuntu 24.04, so it's still in support. And on this system this week, I've been doing all sorts of different things. Not least I've been playing solitaire, which is clearly very important indeed, but I will shut it down for now because if I start playing that, I'll be playing it forever. And so let me show you some of the other things I've been doing. Today on this system I have been working a bit in Photo P, messing around with potential video thumbnails. I'm still not exactly sure which direction to take things in, so you'll have to see when the video comes out if this looks anything like the final thumbnail I actually use. I've also this week on this system, and indeed also on the Milk 5 Jupiter 2, been running Google Docs. I spend a lot of my life in Google Docs and it works fine on either system. However, the thing I've probably spent more time than anything doing on the Milk 5 Jupiter 1 has been watching YouTube videos. And I haven't actually been watching my own channel, but clearly I have no copyright issues showing you content on my own channel, so I'll just show you how well YouTube Playback works here on the Milk 5 Jupiter 1. It's not as good as the Jupiter 2. I can get decent 720p playback, but there is a bit of a lag getting things going. But I'll show you this in real time, so you can see how things come up. It's having a little think. It's always nice when computers have a think, isn't it? And eventually get on and do something. Oh, look, things are going to happen. It's getting exciting. Here's some of our friends, the ducks, and we can hopefully full screen. Come on, you can do it, computer. It's not that big of a thing to ask you to do. There you are. And we'll just bring up stats for nerds, like that. And you'll see there are some drop frames initially, but I've been watching 720p on this system all week without any issues at all. It's been going absolutely fine. And to demonstrate the performance difference, let's go across to the Milk 5 Jupiter 2 and do exactly the same thing. We'll watch exactly the same video. It's much more responsive navigating YouTube on this system, as you can see. Let's bring up Stats for Nerds, where, as we can see, we have no drop frames watching 1080p on the Milk 5 Jupiter 2. Well, somehow we've reached about 10 PM on the final day of this experiment, and things are still going okay. I've just packed away a larger monitor I've been using at this desk so I can see you, hello, but I've still got a smaller monitor over there connected to the Milk 5 Jupiter 2, and if I press this magic button over here, we're back on its desktop, where I can show you that the video edit has been progressing. It is now nearly 23 minutes long. I've edited the 7 segments I've been shooting so far. I haven't edited in this segment because, of course, I'm still shooting it. That wouldn't be possible. And I've been finishing off things like captions, that type of stuff. And talking of which, I've been experimenting yet again with Photo P here on the Milk 5 Jupiter 2, and it's still flicking, which is very annoying. But that said, this is really what this is about. This is an experiment. The Milk 5 Jupiter 2 is a development board. It exists for people to develop software for RISC-V and to test it and to move us towards having final end user systems based on RISC-V hardware. And the hardware I've used this week, the Milk 5 Jupiter 1 and 2, have performed very well indeed. Both have been running sort of 12-16 hours a day throughout the experiment, and neither has crashed once, which I find absolutely remarkable. And indeed, Kdenlive has not crashed once on me this week. I shouldn't say that, I should be crossing my fingers, but it hasn't crashed so far, which is really good. And indeed, the only fundamental problem I've had has been with the video output on the Milk 5 Jupiter 2, which every now and then just goes black for a second or a few seconds. Comes back again, the machine doesn't crash, no data is lost, but it just suddenly occasionally loses the display. And maybe this is because the board has got this arrangement of having a single connector for USB 3 data connectivity and power and video out. Maybe it's nothing to do with that, but it's certainly something that's been a slight annoyance across this week. But that point noted, we've clearly got somewhere with RISC-V. We've got to a point where a lot of standard kind of desktop computing activities can be undertaken on RISC-V hardware. I've worked with RISC-V for a week with no fundamental issues at all. I've missed having a mobile device, but that's an entirely separate thing. And of course, we could have RISC-V mobile devices as well as desktop PCs. So all I've now got to do is to finish recording this part of the video, press stop record, take the file, chuck it over to the computer, edit it in, render out the final video. And I will in the video description let you know how long the final render out takes. But now that's it for another video. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, please press that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And I hope to talk to you again very soon.